bestseller for a nonfiction. The host has unmuted your mic. Oh, okay. What makes for a bestseller book? And we're going to be talking about a nonfiction book. So either that and a memoir, because so much of that. Hi, Sandra. Nice to see you. Hi, sweetie. All right. So no matter where you are on your writing journey, you need to know some things before your book is even published. And one of that is what makes up for a bestseller book. So I'm going to pull a couple of things here and share with you what they are. So before I do, I think it's important that you know what the bestseller benefits are, so that you focus on it's not just a matter of, oh, I should be a bestseller, but why do you want to be a bestseller? That becomes really important, because as you know, when you know what is really behind the value behind what is important for you, then that is what motivates you, is that big why. So let's just focus just for a little bit on why even have a bestseller. Now, before I go too much further, I have to have a disclaimer here. I personally am definitely not a fan of selling your books or ebooks for 99 cents so you can say that you have a best-selling book. I'm not into that, because I believe your intellectual property is invaluable. And then you have to think, okay, the people that buy your ebook for 99 cents, are they really going to value it? And in psychology, there is a theory that when you have to pay for something, it becomes more valuable. And in fact, the more you have to pay for something, the more valuable we perceive it. So think of something that, a purse or an outfit or a special bedspread or whatever that's expensive for you. You're going to, chances are, be a lot more careful with it, because it's more valuable to you, because it has a financial value to it, which we perceive as more. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason I'm not a fan is because, are those your ideal clients that are going to be spending 99 cents just to help you become a bestseller? Chances are no. People that are going to buy the book because they're interested in the book, and I'm going to share with you some things why they want to be interested in purchasing your book and reading your book. Those are two different things, right? And it's not a matter of just getting people to spend 99 cents for your book. You're going to want them to spend whatever the ebook is, $4.95, $9.95, or a paperback, $15, $17, hardback, whatever it is, but they're going to find it more valuable. So that is why I'm not a fan of the 99 cents best-selling campaign. Now, if that's something that you like and it makes sense for you, go for it. But that's not something that I work with my clients on. Just a little FYI. So why do you even want a book to be a bestseller? Well, first of all, it gives you credibility. Right off the bat, it gives you credibility. My book is a bestseller. That says a lot. I'm going to have everyone mute themselves. And I think, Sandra, I'm going to have you mute yourself because your name is coming up here. And anyone else that wants to mute, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Another reason, a benefit of having a bestseller book, is that it increases your celebrity status. And, there aren't a lot of people really that write books. Now, you might be in an industry, or you might be amongst friends who all have books, but they may not be bestseller books. And they may be best-selling books at the 99 cent level and nothing else is happening. Or maybe they have a book and it was traditionally published and nothing is really happening. So we want to be able to increase our celebrity status. having a book written does that. I've often shared that when my first book came out, Where Did the Time Go? It was for time management for working women. I didn't know anything more the day before it came out and was published than the day after. And yet all of a sudden I was looked upon as a celebrity, and I ended up getting celebrity status, which helped motivate people to find me and to work with me, and speaking in gigs and sponsorships. And that's another reason you'd want a bestseller, because sponsors think highly of bestseller books, because they're thinking, and rightfully so, that there are a lot of people that want to read this book that you've written. And then the numbers also help explain it, right? I've had clients that have had hybrid publishers publish their book, which is a cross between a traditional publisher who gives you money, um, I'm going to say royalties, and then the self-publishing, which you do it all yourself, and the hybrid, which is a happy medium, and then you pay them to print it. But I've had clients that have published their books with hybrid publishers and then go on to be a bestseller, selling a lot of books, and then a traditional publisher has picked them up. Okay. And then if that's something that you'd like to do, that's something else that you can start thinking about when you want to, one of the benefits of becoming a bestseller book. The other thing is that you have a much higher chance of attracting your ideal clients. You have a much higher chance of attracting media, as I say, sponsors, buyers, which are readers, which are potentially your ideal clients. So, and then there's something else that's really big now, and that is podcasts. And I don't know if you are a podcast listener. I am, and there's so many wonderful podcasts out there. And I will tell you, when I speak to a podcast host, one of the reasons they contact me at the rate they do is because I have books. I have books on time management for working women. I have a sales book. I have a marketing book. I have the most recent Generation Why Not, talking about different generations, and then what is this generation why not? So we can get into some deep conversation around them. They love that. They love that because it also helps them kind of steer and knowing the topic for their show, to see if it's a fit. There's one podcast host that wanted to interview me, and we worked on but working with the title of one of my books for a potential next podcast interview, and we already did podcast interviews. So it's all of that, and when the podcast hosts and the media and the sponsors and your potential clients see bestseller, that means a lot. Plus, it helps your potential client to pick you up and to see what your book is about. So that's the next piece I want to share with you. The importance of a book intro. Very important. So, a book intro. Now, when people ask me, Ruth, do I need a book introduction? Yes, absolutely. The next question is, how long is it supposed to be? Well, Dale Carnegie, his book introduction was 1 page, and it was basically the 8 benefits that the readers would get after they finished reading the book. You can do that, but I like to do it a little bit differently, what I share with my clients. So when someone sees a book, whether it's at a speaking opportunity, at a bookstore, online, they like to skim the intro. And that's the place where the person many times will purchase the book, because they've skimmed the intro and there is a benefit. They perceive a benefit by picking up this book, spending the money to purchase it, and then to read it. 2 different parts: to buy it and to read it. How many of you have bought books and they sounded so good, and then you put them somewhere, and then you maybe forgot about them, or you started reading them and you put it down because you got too busy. You want them not only to spend their money to purchase it, you want them to be able to not be able to put it down. I get this a lot from my readers. Ruth, I have your books by my nightstand, and I continue to read them over and over and over again. That's what you want. Why? It makes sense. It's because they believe there is some value, real value in them reading it. There's a book that I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've read it. It's Deepak Chopra's 7 Spiritual Laws to Success. I must have read that literally over 70 times. And every time I read it, it every time I read it, it keeps me calm. It refocuses me. It reminds me of what is important, what I value. It's amazing. I had to get another one because the first one was a hardcover, and poor little book, it just kind of tore apart. So I now have another book, and I have a few books like that where I look through them over and over again. Why? Because they offer me so much value. And interestingly enough, many of them, if not most of them, if not all of them, are bestsellers. Okay, there's a reason for it. So, in that intro, you want to convince your reader who might end up becoming a potential client not only to buy your book, but to read it. It also helps the potential client, the media, podcast hosts, sponsors to buy into your expertise, into your authority, into your celebrity by what you say, by your stories. I'll give you an example. So here's a book that is by Pam Friedman, a financial wizard, and we work together. It's called I Now Pronounce You Financially Fit: How to Protect Your Money in Marriage and Divorce. And in her intro, it immediately shares, let's see, there's a disclaimer. Her first sentence is, I wish I had met you before my divorce. And she says, I have heard that phrase so many times, I should engrave it into a paperweight or plaque for my office. Does that capture your interest? Yeah, that's actually the first sentence or two. And then she goes on to explain why it's so important that you read this book. And it's only 2 pages, the intro. And then here's what it says. This book, this is valuable. This book helps you talk about and protect what you've earned before, during, and after marriage. Okay? So that's what this one does. I'm going to have you take this. And then we have by Bettina Langerfeld, The Sleeping Queen. And it's interesting. When I first worked with Bettina, she thought she was going to write this book in Spanish, and she lives in Latin America, and she for sure thought she would because she thinks in Spanish, right? That's her first language. And as it turns out, she ended up writing it in English first because she didn't realize how much she loves English and that she could write it in English first, and then it was then done in Spanish and others. But let me just share with you, she would never have known that had she not started. If she had said, oh, do you, she kept thinking about, should it be Spanish, should it be English, should it be Spanish, should it be English? And that's one of the reasons you have a mentor to help keep you focused, to give you the pros and the cons and the benefits. And so she has an introduction here. And let's see what I'm going to give that to you as well, Nick. Okay, let's goes into our acknowledgments. And this is especially for Latin American female entrepreneurs, in Christian circles, which is an incredible market. Um, and then the ending, the sleeping queen inside of you will awaken. Once you read this book, the sleeping queen inside of you will awaken. Your mindset about true womanhood and female entrepreneurship, which she feels that many times in certain circles and certain cultures, they clash. And she wanted to show that they don't clash. And that's what this book is about. Okay. So in my Generation Why Not book, this is my seventh, this is my most recent book. Let me share with you. I have a tendency to write. I have a lot to say. So most of those intros were 2 to 3 pages. I would say 3 to 5. I probably have, about 5 to 6 pages. And so the first sentence, have you ever wondered why you find yourself successfully doing some things and then other things not so much? Or have you been around people who are always wishing they could be or do something different, but never go for it, no matter how talented they are? Doesn't that kind of open up a curiosity loop for you? And then I go into this, and then at the end, that what you want to do in that intro, in the pages before you, I invite you to remember and see more clearly your true self, your brilliance, talents, loving heart, internal courage, and the power of one, which is you. You get to, not have to, choose the life you want and deserve. That might interest people, which in fact it did. And then the last one that I want to share with you, so you can see all different kinds of genres, is Time Management for Secrets for Working Women. This book is a millennial. It's been selling for over 25 years. I do still get royalties for it. And let's do the introduction here. Okay. This is towards the end. A few women would say that they have achieved time equality at work, at home, or in their personal activities. Time Management Secrets for Working Women gives examples on how to balance your time. I believe it can help you create a future filled with a new perception of time, a positive attitude toward defining priorities and living your values, and a more flexible schedule filled with fresh possibilities. You know, if you are time starved and you read that, you think, okay, I'll take one, right? And quite honestly, the title is really important as well. Yeah, that's important. And but we're talking right now about how important that intro is. And so when you're writing your book intro, you want to keep these certain things in mind. What will be valuable for the reader? Now, know that your reader is your ideal client. And let's say you don't want to have clients. Let's say you just want to speak. I've had several clients who don't want to do coaching, or they've done coaching for many years and now they just want to do speeches. And now that with the virtual speaking world, it makes it even easier. So what will be valuable to your target market, to your ideal client that's sitting in the audience, that you work with one-on-one or in a group? Why should they spend time reading it? You've got to give them some meat of the coconut by the time they skim that intro. You want to this is important, choose a captivating story or anecdote in your introduction. Think of your story, and this is nonfiction or memoir. Think of the arc. You know, I often think of this TV series that I'm watching now, and oh my gosh, I know better, but because they have this arc on this adversity, this high point, this uncertainty, what comes next? Oh my goodness, into the next series, into the next episode, I end up staying up and watching it because psychologically, our minds and our brains are set up to close the loop. Close the loop. And when you create a story with an arc, right? It starts here, it goes up, right there is where you start. This is where you start the captivating story in your intro. And then you complete it inside the book. Let me say that again. This is a really important thing. And also, this is exactly what you do when you give a speech, okay? Especially when you start the speech. You want it to be captivating right off the bat. You want them to listen. And you want to create an open, you want to have an arc and create an open loop because psychologically they're going to stay, they're going to try and listen and try and close that loop that you've opened. So you're going to start with a story or an anecdote, whether it's about a client, whether it's about you. And so how do you choose that? So let me give you an exercise here. You're thinking of your book, or you're in the midst of writing a book, or you're thinking about writing a book, or you're almost finished writing a book. And all of this is important before you publish the book. And so write down, think of maybe 5 pivotal stories that make sense, that would go into your book, into your topic. And then which one is just, do you feel is the most captivating? And you can even ask 3 or 4 of your friends without all the backstory. Just start in the middle of the story. Start in the arc, the high point, the discernment, the uncertainty, the conflict, the paradoxical beliefs or thoughts. Just tell them that. Don't tell them the rest. Because the ending, the closure of that loop, of that story, is inside your book. Okay? And they're going to read because they want to know what it is. And it becomes valuable to them as well. Okay, you want to do that. So I will be basically talking about this plus many, many other elements that make up a bestseller book. And it's for nonfiction and memoir. And this is for April 21st. It's called the Bestseller Blueprint Workshop. And I'd love to see you. It's $7 entry fee, and you're gonna get thousands of dollars worth of information for your book before it's published that 99% of people who write books don't know. And the reason I know they don't know that what I'm going to be sharing is because the majority of experts, entrepreneurs, professionals who've written books, nothing happens with that book. They put in all that time, all that effort, all that expense, and it sits in their office. Okay? That's sad. That's sad. And I get this all the time. I even had a client who was traditionally published, and she gave me a call and she said, Ruth, are you the book marketing gal? I go, that's what they call me. And so she had her book traditionally published. The first year it sold really, really well. It became a bestseller. And then the second year, she goes, nothing's happening. And I said, so what did you do the first year? She goes, well, I went on a book tour. I mean, the book just came out. I went on a book tour. And I said, okay, that's great. What did you do the second year? And she kind of, I could tell on the phone, it was like, well, I went on a book tour last year. Okay. So let me share something with you that's really important. So from the moment you start writing your book, you are marketing. I'm going to show you how to start marketing your book and getting fans that can't wait to purchase your book. And I'm going to show you how to get pre-sales of your book before it's ever published. And certainly isn't a guarantee, but I can certainly also help you attract minimum $5,000-$10,000 in speaking opportunities and ideal clients and sponsor money with that book, if it entails all the strategies I'm going to be talking about to create a best-selling book, April 21st in the Bestseller Blueprint Workshop. It's going to be 90 minutes. If you can't stay for the whole thing, although I do suggest you do, because there are going to be some incredible bonuses, but there will be a replay. And for those of you who register, you will get a replay if you can't make the whole thing. And then you will get the bonuses as well. It is a one-time deal that I'm doing this. Maybe I'll do this later in the year, but right now this is it. And I'm going to be sharing with you what makes your book stand out. So in order to have a bestseller, it has to stand out. It has to differentiate. It has to be unique. It has to be captivating stories. It has to have a strategy, and it has to have a structure. And every book is different. I don't work with 300 people to write a book at the same time in 30 days. That's not who I am. I tailor each of my clients' books, their strategies, their structure. I find out what they want, and then we go from there. I'm going to share with you how to craft a captivating message and be able to what's called position your book so that people understand what your book's about before they read your book, which captivates them because they're going to want to read it. And that's called brand positioning, book positioning. And then I'm also going to help you understand how your book is a thought leader in your industry. And this can also be used as a memoir. How is your memoir different? Yeah, of course, your story is different. Your experiences are different. And then what? How much more can you creatively put in there where people think about your memoir for decades? When they think about your nonfiction book and they keep it at their nightstand because it offers them so much valuable information. So we're going to be talking about all that in the 90 minutes that we have together on April 1st. The link to sign up is in your chat, or there's going to be a link in your bio or at the end of the caption. So look that up, and until next week, I'll see you on Ruth on Demand.